2014 at 6 o'clock p.m. Let's all stand for a silent prayer.
Before we do that, I need to make a motion that Shirley be named President Pro Tem in Ralph's, Mr. Sandor's absence.
All in favor, signify aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays, nay.
Okay.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We don't have any minutes, so we're going to pass on that. I got a correspondence. This is from the Sheriff Department, Mike Hadley. As Christmas approaches, I find myself reflecting on things I have witnessed since becoming sheriff. Of all the different situations I have been involved in, the most heartbreaking is the children. I've been on deadly stakeouts which have no comparison to look on a child's face who has been abused and neglected. 18 children were taken out of homes in Doddridge County in just 1 month's time due to abuse and neglect. Nothing humbles you more than a child. So as Christmas is upon us, I am once again asking for your assistance to help some children who will not have a magical Christmas without our help. This is something that has been put upon my heart by looking into the eyes of the child in our county and seeing the hurt in his eyes. No child should feel unloved or unwanted. I am going to choose some less fortunate children who need a magical Christmas. I will get their letter they wrote to Santa from the school and buy their gifts. On Christmas morning, I will arrive at their homes dressed as Santa to deliver them. To me, this is what Christmas is all about, the children. If you would like to help me with this cause, please send your donation to the Doddridge County Sheriff's Department and put in a memo, Magical Christmas. Thank you sincerely, my fellow sheriff.
Is that the only correspondence?
That's all I got.
Okay. I think we need to put that on the agenda for next meeting.
Somebody pass me the names there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lori Price.
At a recent meeting, I believe it was Ms. Moore asked or brought up the possibility of the County Commission working together to change the speed limit on our highways. Since that comment, it just has come to my mind a lot. I drive to Bridgeport to work every day and back, and the roads are very hazardous, and I thought if it was possible for Wood, Ritchie, Doddridge, and Harrison counties to all work together and it not reduce the speed limit for everyone, maybe reduce the speed limit for the truck traffic to 55 miles per hour. I think it would save a lot of lives. I know it would save a lot of stress in my life. But I just wondered, I can't remember exactly when that comment was made, and I wondered if there had been any other discussions about it.
I don't believe so.
Not to my knowledge either.
Can we pursue that? Is it something that you would look into and see if it can be done?
I'm sure that we can.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann Brenham. I didn't pronounce your name right, I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I've heard it pronounced in a lot of different strange ways. I'd like to add to what Ms. Price was saying. I think at the very least on a county level, we have a situation where like the speed limit on Smithton Road is like 45 miles an hour. On Big Flint and some of our other two-lane roads, the speed limit is up there. And even though some of these oversized trucks have the guide cars with the way the curves and stuff go, a lot of times you don't know you're approaching them. And sometimes the guide cars are way ahead of the vehicles. I encountered a situation, I think it was last week, where there was a 15-foot wide piece of machinery that I think they were bringing down from one of the compressor stations. Now these folks had something like 6 guide cars, and the guide car that I approached was actually going in the same lane facing me, okay? And this was coming around the curve by one of the church by Bob's Run, all right? These guys were parking in the wrong lane, stopping traffic, and you couldn't see them. And I think it's really dangerous. And plus the fact that on our gravel roads, the speed limit on our gravel roads is 55 miles an hour. Unless the speed limit is reduced, even if law enforcement is out there, because of what the state mandated speed limits on these roads are, they can't even ticket these guys. You know, and it's really scary. And with winter approaching, and even though some of these companies have the verbal agreement that they will not operate when the school buses are on the roads, I continually see that violated. You know, I continually see that violated. And we've been very, very fortunate. I don't want to see anyone hurt. But I think if it comes from our county officials, that at the very least we might get more of a response. I have been writing letters to the head of the secretary for the Department of Transportation. I've yet to get a response from him. I get responses from other people that work for the Department of Transportation. But they really, you know, their hands are tied. So, you know, we were able to get that traffic light on 18 and 50. It took a long time, but we got it there, and that was through numerous citizens calling and requesting and writing to the governor and to other people, and we got it in. So hopefully that will, you know, that'll help and save some lives. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jamie, Boomerang.
What I'm here about is my office. Today, it was, oh, I have like my mouth is big enough. I have, today it was 47 degrees in my office. 49 at my desk. That wall where the storage room is off from my office, that wall is basically just exposed to the outside right there. And that wall in my office is paneling, and there needs to be some insulation put on that wall there in my office, on the other side, to keep that cold down. I put up with it last year. I brought a little heater in and set under my desk, but I just don't want to do that this year, you know.
I'll blame you.
Because we set a thermometer in there and it was 47 degrees. So if something could be done about that as soon as possible, it would be greatly appreciated. Because I don't have any heat in there at all. And Beth knows I keep my house cool, so. But 47 degrees is a little cool. Yeah, so, okay.
I do know that we discussed in the last meeting, I believe, that Little Mike is supposed to come in and check, because there was, the prosecutor's office has a problem, and since the fire marshal dictated that there would be no gas heaters.
Yeah, because the 2 gas heaters we've got downstairs, that's the only heat we have in our office. And one's in Olivia's office and the other one's in Candy's. And I'm clear back there, the first office you come to when you go in there, you know, with that cold wall there, so.
There's a storage room right behind her that you could easily get to that wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I looked in there today.
Maybe
So,
we could get to do that.
I don't know.
Do you have anybody in mind?
Craig Henner has a company.
Well-
that's about the only one that I know of that,
Olivia's husband, that's what he has, is a construction business.
That's right.
And, you know, he could, after driving the school bus, he could dart in there and put up a roll of insulation in that room.
Do you have to put it out? I'm sorry for interrupting. Does it have to be put out for bid?
No, there wouldn't be no amount of anything to put up a roll of
If it's
insulation.
Not high enough to
15,000.
not worry about it.
Because that wall would be, I don't know, not much bigger than that wall right there, probably.
you think it's coming from that room?
Oh, it is. I was,
That's where
yeah, I went in there today. I mean, I could take you down there, Greg,
There's
and
some
show you.
windows that need sealed up in that room too.
Yeah, there's just cardboard or something up against those outside windows.
It more took me a while back to look at.
Yeah. And there's like a dirt floor in there, basically. In that storage room.
Well, I would say myself that you think you can find somebody to do this?
I probably could, yeah. I can ask John if he wants to do it, you know, through his business. He has-
Well, you know, we have to, what are there requirements for somebody doing business with the county, right?
Yeah, construction and, he'd just be doing his own work, right? Everybody has some work. and that's-
No, he's already doing that himself.
Yeah. It's
Good
not,
grief, I can do that.
it's not as much of an issue when it's just that person doing it.
Right,
But I
then you
can talk
don't,
about-
Good, I'm sorry.
I can, you know, talk to Jamie about it. I mean, the biggest thing is their license.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that
That's what he does.
there are those requirements, and then as long as somebody meets those requirements, and if it's not an emergency, then prevailing wage. But if it's just an individual, I don't think prevailing wage. It's only if he has employees that he's paying to do the work.
No, I'm sure he'd do that himself.
Well, if you want to,
I could give him a call later, and I can let you know before I leave.
well, since it's not on the agenda, we can't really act on it tonight as far as approving it, or is that?
I would say it's needed.
This is probably a repair.
That's what I would.
We have
I mean-
things that would cost more than that we do it all the time. It's just when there's a bigger project, a bigger issue that you need to.
Yeah. So I would say, you know, as long as it's not, you know, excessively expensive. And I know that leaves a lot to be interpreted, but if it's reasonable, I don't have any problem with it.
I mean, you know, that's the magistrate's office. We pay rent to the county commission.
Well, it needs to be warned too.
Yep, so, so I'll get a hold of John and I'll see if he wants to do it. If he doesn't, then
Then
we can find
proceed
somebody. Yeah.
somebody.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take the floodplain permit report before Sheriff Kevlin, because Bo has to leave early.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We only received in 4 new applications, all 4 of them entirely out of the floodplain since the last commission meeting. The reports are there if anybody wants copies of it. Commissioners, you should have copies as well. As far as approved goes, we have 9 that were approved, 5 in floodplain, 4 out. Those that were approved that are in the floodplain, the 4 that are out are the ones that just came in, because we have no regulatory authority, so those were approved. It's 14-250 for CNX Gas Company LLC, their red-orange water line. That's a 0.48 mile water line construction project involving temporary bridge construction and road construction. 14-291, the Albert R. and Lillian M. Richards, they're dredging Wilhelm Run in front of their home. They've got U.S. Army Corps of Engineer approval to do the dredging process. All they're doing is taking material out of the run, actually, and moving it outside the floodplain, still on their property, to build a small parking area. So it's no negative impact to the floodplain. They've got their proper permits to do, so it's actually going to help flooding in that area because it'll actually produce a deeper pocket for waters. 14-292, Kirby D. Miller, storage building. Mr. Kirby plans to build a small storage building on his property within the floodplain. He's been given FEMA instructions on proper building materials and construction methods, which will allow for free flow of water and will not affect the overall BFE of Wilhelm Run. This is actually right up the street there from the previous project. And so that one was approved. 14-301, the Devinings. This is a residential bridge out in the Greenbrier District, Salem area. It's a residential bridge construction for pasture access. It's a 14 by 51 foot bridge. They have been given DNR right of entry. The state floodplain office has signed off on it after looking at the project and said that it's an approximate A zone and they're fine and dandy. Basically, they're building a span bridge across a 10-foot wide stream, 20 foot on this side, 20 foot on the other side with pilings. So there'll be very negative impact to the floodplain unless we have a really large one. And 14-305 for Antero, which is the Swisher Tank Pad to Snake Run Tank Pad water line in the New Milton District. And that is a surface water line project. All other permit approvals from other regulatory agencies, including the DEP, were received. So those were the ones that were inside the floodplain. And then we have 12 that are still pending. And that's pretty much it. We got in a little bit of information on the Rover pipeline project, which is going to be leaving out of the Sherwood area, going up into Canada. That's a $4.3 billion project, I believe, or 3.4. I'm not sure if I got that right. Multi-billion-dollar project, regardless. And I'm going to leave this information here on the table. So if anybody wants to take a look at these drawings and things, afterwards you're more than welcome to. So. Go ahead.
Do you know if they're going to be holding a in-county meeting about this?
I do not. I'm going to call though, based on what you said tonight, I'm going to go ahead and call them and see if we can get one scheduled. Because we should have one.
Well,
we should have
it's
one,
in
at least one, hopefully.
Peyton City tonight, and that's the closest one. The rest of them are in Ohio
Okay.
from the documents that I received.
The meeting
Okay.
in Payne City is actually a meeting that FERC is holding
It's
for their
superb.
Okay.
pre-FERC approval stuff, which they're going to apply for the pre-approval permits from FERC in January.
Right.
So the meeting in Payne City is actually being held by FERC. They did have another meeting that was actually the pipeline people, which was, I think, in August. That was somewhere along the Ohio River, but they've
Okay.
had nothing.
In this area.
And this is where it starts.
Yeah. Well, there's information here. I won't read it out, but there's, well, actually I will because this will go on the YouTube. www.energytransfer.com/ops_ETROVER.ASPX. You can also call for information 1-888-844-3718. Again, that's 888-844-3718. And then there is also a couple of contacts down here. There are numbers and email addresses as well. So I'll leave that data as well. If anybody wants that data, it's right there. And we'll try to get some public meetings set up. I know this is only one of many multi-billion-dollar projects that are going to be generated from the Sherwood facility. So we'll try to get some public meetings going and work through the process. The only other thing that I've got, we're currently working in the area of 5355 Big Flint Road. There's a low-water residential bridge there that was built a number of years ago, and it partially collapsed, got eddied out on one side. That bridge partially collapsed, and one of the companies came in and just poured a bunch of concrete over top of it to smooth it out, poured a bunch of concrete on the side of the bank, and did that and went on their way. It's creating a damming effect. I've taken both Greg and Ralph out to the location. We've looked at it. We all agree that it needs to come out of there. It needs to get out because it's creating a hazardous effect upstream. So I had a meeting this week with our engineering group, also with the Department of Highways. I've also been in contact with the Army Corps and getting their approvals and permits and things. We still have to contact DNR and Fish and Wildlife. But what we're looking at doing is going in and replacing that low water bridge with either a box culvert or something of that nature that's going to open that stream back up and allow free flow. At the same time, right just north of the bridge as the water flows, the water has started to eddy out and start to actually erode the bank going into Big Flint Run, into that road. So what we're looking at doing is taking material from the right side, upward stream, right side of the stream, digging that out, pushing that up onto the left side of the stream, basically realigning the stream. So instead of the stream coming into the road at a sharp angle and eroding there, it's going to come more of a straight line down into the new bridge, which will alleviate erosion problems and help rebuttress Big Flint Road. So hopefully that will alleviate a long-term problem of erosion and potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars for DOH to come in and repair that later on down the road. So we're trying to kind of kill two birds with one stone, in essence, and we're trying to work with all the different bodies to put some money behind it. The landowner, as well as the current company that has access to oil rigs up on that site, as well as DOH, as well as everybody, to try to share the costs. No numbers yet, I don't know. Our engineering firm is coming up with a couple of proposals, and we'll hopefully know costs before January 1 as to how much it would cost, a couple of different ways that we can approach it, and then we can start working with everybody and trying to get this project moved forward. So I think it's for the best interest of that community, definitely, to get that bridge out of there, because it just dams. It's just becoming a dam. Originally it was small culverts, 5 small culverts. 3 of those are partially, or more than that. A couple of them are partially submerged now, entirely under the, as you know, low water crossing. All the debris and everything gets clogged there and just stops, and it dams out and floods. So, yeah.
What happened to the bridge that was reported over on Route 23?
That I haven't gotten to. I haven't taken any further action yet, but it's on the agenda.
I mean, that was the one on Route 23 was a bridge I think JB Oil and Gas put in. It broke up. It's been sitting there for years, and nobody's done anything with it. And it's creating some of the same issues that you're talking about.
I'm sure if we start looking, there's probably more than just that one too. There's probably a couple more of those. You know, these were all done well before the floodplain ordinance was passed. Now, the original installation of the bridges, I don't know about this concrete fill. I don't really know the history of this bridge to speak. If that was done after the floodplain process was implemented, probably was, but I don't know that for sure. So, but regardless, when it was done, when it was not done, it needs to come out of there. You know, these things need to get taken care of and help alleviate flooding problems for residents. So we're moving forward on it. So.
I think I know exactly where this is, and if this is the one I'm thinking about, that thing, when they originally put it in, they kept putting in the culverts, doing it, and it was a joke. Every time I came home from work, whenever there was high water, it was all washed out. And they went through trying to put this thing in like multiple times, and it's been there for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And they do keep putting cement or whatever.
Yeah.
It's been there for a while.
Other than that, I've got nothing unless anybody else had anything for me. I've got nothing else.
Thank you.
So thank you for allowing me to go first and get on the road. So y'all be safe. And be thankful you're not in Buffalo tonight. So they've got 3 feet and they're expecting 3 more.
Sheriff Hadley.
know the walk-through metal detector has been down for what, a couple, 3 weeks now. I've got the estimate. I just need to call, you guys approve it, and I can have it here as early as tomorrow afternoon.
How much?
Well, it doesn't do much good to have security if we don't have the
No,
equipment
it's a brand new.
to check. So, have you checked to see if there's any possibility of repair
He's gonna look at it
whenever he comes in?
He can look at it and see.
My suggestion would be, if it's possible to repair it,
For a spare.
yeah,
Yes,
have it as a spare.
absolutely.
Do you need to make a motion?
I will make a motion that we purchase from Point Security, Inc., the metal detector for a total amount of $4,900.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, thank you.
We just, oh, Mike.
Yes.
I meant to ask you, it doesn't have anything to do with the metal detector,
Yes.
but some time ago, we authorized you to hire the process server, and the idea was to free up deputies' time.
Yes.
Just wanting to know, how's that working?
Very well. We've got more road time now. Matter of fact, today I had 2 guys out working with DOT. So that's going well, and as Jamie will attest to, she's already going. Our tickets have skyrocketed, so yes, it's working well.
Tickets for?
90% of them are speed on the pickup trucks, the small oil and gas trucks.
And that's kind of the comment I wanted to make when those ladies were speaking. That's what's going to help that situation.
Okay, good. Well,
Yes, it is helping.
sounds like we're at least on the road to,
We're on the right track.
okay, very good.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Do we have anything on mapping and addressing?
Yes, I have given one for to come, but she may not have got the board. I know she has a road to approve, but,
Guess it needs to be tabled.
yeah.
Donations for generator at Humane Society. We agreed we were going to donate something.
Well, I think we've already, we already had that in the budget.
I think they didn't have enough. I think it was going to be more.
Do you know?
Hey, Craig. I think there's $1,000 more than what they had and they didn't have,
That's what.
according to the record thing where it was. And Betty had it placed.
That's what Pat had reported to last month.
So
They went back and checked all their records, no record of it.
the Humane Society
Right.
was going to contribute,
Somebody was supposed to give a donation to them, and they didn't do, or something happened to them, and they didn't get it.
so the cost to the county is another $1,000?
Right.
Okay.
Make a motion to give $1,000 to finish the generator for the Humane Society. All in favor, signify aye.
Aye.
Aye. Your next call?
I'm next.
Yes.
Yay! Well, I guess I was invited down here to talk and maybe answer some questions you guys might have or help figure out where David go. What direction we need to go as a county to maybe improve some communications or work more with the statewide system. I can tell you historically in Harrison County, we've been involved with it. I live in Doddridge County, for anybody that doesn't know that, I'm actually a resident here, so this is kind of important to me, kind of near and dear. We own, in Harrison County, 4 towers in Harrison and 1 in Taylor that they're public safety tower, built on grants, some county, well, a lot of county money actually over the years. And that gives us kind of free reign on what we do. One of the things that we do is share with other public safety. The sheriff and the fire both have transmitters on our Salem tower that cover that in. And we do that. Here you go, have a nice day, come, we don't charge you guys anything for that. That's the beauty of the system we're trying to build, or are building, sharing resources as much as we can. If we could get some additional towers and some more radio coverage in Doddridge County on the digital radio system, that's going to help us in Harrison, it's going to help Wetzel, it's going to help Gilmer. Everybody around benefits on anything we do, so it kind of makes it a win-win instead of everybody getting in their own little, parochial type areas and nobody doing it. When the sheriff's working on the digital system here or Smithburg Fire, they're working off Salem Tower or Pennsburg Tower. Channels are valid, you have a nice day. Same token, when deputies from Morgantown are bringing people out to the regional jail in Doddridge County, they're using towers all the way down, maintaining connection, with their dispatch centers the whole way. It's kind of important, when you've got a miscreant in the back that you have the ability to call somebody if you have a problem. That being said, if you guys are interested in improving or whatever, David and I have talked a couple times, are we allowed to say that? Where locations might be and how to proceed. There's grant money available for building towers. There actually is a piece of the cellular phone taxes comes out and gets set aside in tower fund. That's how we built Grafton. Taylor County Commission came up with some money. I wrote a grant through them to build it, and then 911 picked up the rest. Could do something very similar here, go for a grant. But we need to determine what we want to do, where we think we need to do it first, and what our ultimate goals are. That needs to involve fire and EMS, law enforcement, county commissions. What are we trying to do? We know West Union stinks coverage in town. Number one, you're kind of down in the valley here, and everything goes up around you. And this is an important part of the county to cover. Every part of the county is important, but this is the center of government. This is the center of population, and we need to look at making sure whatever we do takes care, get the most bang for your buck. What can we do to make sure that we're getting as much coverage as possible? When you talk about coverage, mobile-wise, they don't have to be real tight together, and that's if you look at maybe one more tower to the north and one towards Gilmer County, we've probably got it covered, as long as we're not too far away, again, from West Union to get the coverage here. You mentioned the highest point in the county. There's a couple different ways of looking at that. Sometimes the highest point's great because you get a big coverage. Sometimes it's hard to get frequency licenses because you're covering so much. So you might want to try to, particularly down, let's get it down a little bit on high school, something like that, to where we're covered. What we don't want to do is get too much overlap to where it's too close to the Pennsburg Tower, too close to Salem Tower. We've not maximized our investments to get the best coverage. That being said, questions?
So what if I'm envisioning this correctly, it's kind of like filling in voids.
Let me explain the radio system a little bit, and that might help some. Right now, when you switch from tower to tower, do you physically have to change channels?
Yes.
You don't on the digital system. You actually get it's kind of like cellular phone. You get handed off from tower to tower. When I leave work, I'm on the Clarksburg Tower. By the time I get home, I've gone through, sometimes I hit Lost Creek, sometimes not, but then I get Salem, and I never know that I'm changing, I never lose connection, anything like that. But the guys from Morgantown going to regional jail. They're on Morgantown, then they're on Ida May, then they're on Fairmont, then they're on Clarksburg, then they're on Salem, then they're on Pennsboro. Never even know they're changing. So that being said, these guys can then go out and do their work and not worry about what part of the county am I in. Did I drive across that magic line and I need help, or I forgot to change channels? All that goes away. So yeah, we need to look at filling. And again, we need to sit down with some big maps and say, hey, do we know who owns this? Do we know who owns this? Does the county already own property somewhere that would be amenable to the fill-in? A lot of money, but again, there's grants available. There's some hardware laying around that might be used, but if you try to take it away from us right now, we kill you. It's just that handy having the seamless coverage.
When you say a lot of money, what?
That's what I was going to ask.
The stack of radios that goes in to run the site is about $260,000. State might have some, state might not, depends on, you just don't know. The tower itself, a lot of variables, but you're gonna have somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000 in that. Grant money is available again. They like to see buy-in, like anything else. They don't wanna, hand out, but if there's buy-in, then it's looked at favorably from the grant folks down there. I know a lot of them do so.
And you indicated that you were involved with Taylor County.
Yeah, we dispatched Taylor County as well.
Okay.
And we had the same issue out there. It didn't have the coverage we needed. So we built a tower in just outside of Grafton.
Go ahead.
And Taylor County is real small geographically, so that one there, plus we can use the Philippi to the south, we can use Fairmont to the north, we use Clarksburg to the west. They're getting ready, Preston County's building one now up on Laurel Mountain, which is just past Fellowsville up on the right. Again, same concept now. Barber County can use it, Tucker County can use it, Taylor County can use it. And that's the beauty of it. We're not all throwing good money after bad, covering our own little neighborhoods. We're kind of helping everybody. One of the areas that I've looked at, the upper end of the eastern end of Tyler County stinks. Up like the Head of Broad Run, I don't want to say that because that's when we first moved to the state, that's where I lived. So yeah, up in those areas, it's kind of thin. Salem kind of works, but you get up in the valley, it goes away. There's an old site up at 5 Points that I'd love to get our hands on and build something up there. Harrison, Tyler, Wetzel, Doddridge, all would benefit on something like that. Eventually we need to look and it's hard to justify, but you've got to cover everything, whether there's a lot of people living there or not. The southern part of Doddridge County is going to need some extra help sometime. Not, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but not a whole lot of people live down there. But you still got to cover it. But Gilmore County needs help down there, Lewis County needs help down there. Maybe somewhere around Santa Clara is what we need to look at down that way to cover, towards Vegas and back that way, Troy and whatnot. So,
can you recall the details of the cost to Taylor County and the grant and how much was required?
We got a grant for $250, and that's kind of screwed that one up. Got a grant for $250 at the time, which covered everything for a guide tower. A guide tower is one that's the same size all the way up, but has guy wires on it.
Okay.
Those take a lot more land to put up because you have to have 80% of the height of the tower minimum for your guy structures. So you have a lot more land lease involved. We finally got into a piece of property. It was a nightmare. Every time you turn around, somebody was wanting something for nothing for a tower. It was interesting. But we finally came up with a piece of property, but couldn't do a guide tower. So we had to go with self-support. Self-support's wider at the base, but there's no guides. They are substantially more to put up. So we went from a $250,000 tower to about a $400,000 tower. That's where 911 had to eat the rest of that to make that happen. But because we hadn't had it. Right. So you're anywhere from again 5 to $400,000 to $700,000 depending upon land acquisition. Do I have to build a road? And that's the other thing. Roads are super expensive to build in. So anything we find, if we can get it closer to an existing road. The other thing that's a nightmare anymore is all the SHPO and all the rules you have to go down. When we built the Taylor County Tower, the Mother's Day Church is here, the tower's back there. Mother's Day Church is here. We still had to get clearance, but even though it was in the different direction, because it was in the view shed. So you've got to go through all those things, regardless. You've been through the environmentals on different things, so you know what that's all like.
If the coverage area were multi-county,
would people work together? Absolutely.
okay.
I know my commission would. As a matter of fact, I've been given marching orders to make something happen up in that 5 Points area. And it's just a matter of acquisition. But yeah, that's the way you do things. You have to go into it with clear-cut understanding of whose responsibilities are what. A lot of people want to point to the state and say, y'all need to do this or whatever. We depend upon it more than the state does. We need to make sure we're taking care of our people in the field. That's our responsibility. And we've got to do that. You know, we just put 1,600 gallons of propane in 4 sites last Thursday. You know, that's the kind of things that are part of what goes on. You know, we've got generators we maintain, buildings we maintain, alarms that go off when doors open that somebody needs to be responsible for to go check. And we do that. And that's the same kinds of things. We've had counties not far from here say, well, who do we got to call to get this grass mowed? Well, go up there and mow it yourself. You know, it's not that hard. Go up there and mow it. And that's pretty much what we told them. So, probably what we need to do is find, you know, get an idea. I mean, I know Smithburg enjoys it. You heard the sheriff earlier this evening say sometimes it's the only thing he has that works. You know, determine what we need, where we need it, and start beating on some doors and saying, hey, what can we do? I will tell you that I'll check with the Tower Fund people. Again, anything I can do to help is great because it's home.
Right.
Not a problem at all. But I'll check and see what the status is down there, what kind of cash they've got laying around. And then we can start chasing down some properties or some areas that make sense.
You might save some of your costs if you look at some of the low pads that are in the.
That have already got roads.
Because the roads are already there.
Yep.
Mr. Bum,
Yes.
can you piggyback on other towers?
They're normally not built to the stuff. Have you ever seen the dishes that hang on Salem?
Yeah.
Those are huge. The towers that like cell companies have normally aren't built to the strength to handle those 6 and 8 foot dishes. And so the basic answer is no. What happens is that's a lot of sail up in the wind.
Yeah.
And that it twists the tower. And when that does that, you lose the connection. So we had to replace the one in Clarksburg because they put extra dishes on it for the broadband project. Wouldn't handle the twist.
Why wouldn't our 911 center be involved in this?
They should be. It's an interesting dynamic because it's dual county and not directly county controlled, as I understand it. They should be. They should be.
Who writes the grant for this?
I would write it as if it's going to live in Dodders County Commission, I would write, the county commission would write it. Now, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't say, here's your grant application, go, send it in. Again, vested interest.
Yeah.
I wrote the one for the Taylor County Commission, so.
Mr. Bump, with the FEMA fire grants are open right now.
Mm-hmm.
Could the, OES director for the county write a grant for radios?
You have to have a fire department that sponsors. So, yeah, the fire chief could. That includes particularly the end user equipment. I don't know how they feel about infrastructure. You'd have to see what their rules are, but that happens typically.
So could, one fire department or...
Any fire department can sponsor for
the service could write a grant that would cover all the fire departments?
Clarksburg Fire Department wrote the grant for Harrison County 7 years ago that populated every fire truck in the county. Flemington Fire Department wrote the one in Taylor County that populated every fire department out there. So yes, any fire department can do that.
Do they have copies of the grants that they wrote
Most likely.
that are available to?
I'll tell you who does. If you're familiar with Jeff Way from the Harrison County Emergency Squad, they wrote the same kind of grant for EMS in the county. And it was Fire Act grant and got it.
Has federal grant, fire grant, have they been, I haven't looked at it recently, have they been pretty favorably in granting for?
Yeah, communications is still high on the list.
Okay.
It is number 1 or 2 this year, as a matter of fact. So yes. And that's, what you need is a fire department to step up to the plate that has the time, because there's some BS involved with all the federal hoops. It's not just here you go, have a nice day. Marshall County is doing one right now, as a matter of fact, where a fire department they've actually got the last one, and they got the grant, so it's the last phase.
Who said that'd be a good project for prosecuting attorneys assistant?
I'm the one with the striking range here, dude.
Sounds like this is doable.
And you guys need to look at it. I mean, that's the job. You need to take care of the folks that are out there taking care of us.
Right.
So what is, our first step is to tell you that
I
we're
think,
interested?
well, that's one, I think Tammy nailed it. Let's, somebody needs to talk to John and say, hey, do we want to play? I don't know what the relationship is like between 911 and Dr. Jan Ritchie, or how those avenues of communications work. I don't know that. But definitely they need to be involved, because they'll have an idea where radios work and where they don't. Probably better than most, well, other than the guys that use them on the other end. And somebody needs to be the clearinghouse or the reception point for information and alarms and that kind of thing.
I know that it's been discussed at the 911 center.
Greg, you meet with them the second then of December?
I'm not sure if it's the 2nd of December. No, it's probably going to be early in January. And assuming Butch and I are still on that committee, we'll meet.
Yeah. You might even make a phone call, feel them out, and say, hey, do we want to go for a Tower Act grant and try to build some infrastructure in the county? And again, it's kind of, other stuff can happen too. If we put them in the right places, you'll be able to rent some tower space to it. That's where you got to be real careful how you craft your agreements with landowners or other entities and whatnot. But there's potential, you're not going to get rich revenue, but maybe pay the electric bill revenue.
I know that during a meeting, John made a comment. I misinterpreted it. At the time, I thought that they already had a tower, and they just wanted somebody to utilize it. And I think what he was talking about was they could get the grant money for the tower. So I know that it's been discussed at the 911 center. I'm just not sure to what extent, and we can.
And again, it's a unique situation. You don't want to wait on Ritchie County necessarily.
Right.
So we've got our own issues here that we need to. Again, if we can work together, great. I can tell you right now. Well, my commission president, he's 100% on board with working with each other.
Right.
So it's not like I say, I've got marching orders to work with you all. So.
Not only would it benefit actually the law enforcement and the fire departments, but it's also comes down to the assessor's office being able to have communication with my field people that are, myself and the person that's in the field for safety, floodplain, engineering. They all can have on the top groups to where they can have communication. So it's just not fire and EMS.
Right.
And,
Well, let me ask this. We just, it's been probably 2 months ago, authorized for the DCAA the purchase of 2 new heart monitor machines that would communicate.
They're using cellular.
Now, would this be available for use for that, or?
No, not directly, no.
Okay.
Now, what it might do is add another cell tower somewhere where there's issues. If the cell company comes in and say we popped this thing, Puerto Rico, somewhere down there, and they say, there's a lot of well traffic down here. We might make a couple bucks, but we can't afford to build a tower. Can we lease space off of you?
Gotcha.
And then that ambulance now has that wireless access down there to do that.
Okay.
And I see somebody with their hands up.
Oh,
I was just gonna say, you're talking about money, with some of the well-had accidents we've had, they don't have telephones, they don't have cell towers. Heard some of the gas companies that are drilling in the county that have been taxing our emergency squads, law enforcement, et cetera, to also chip in, make donations.
how often do y'all do aerial photography?
What
How often do y'all do
is it?
aerial photography? He knew it was coming next.
No, I didn't. We're still using alarm mapping, what was done in 2003, I believe.
Google Earth, the aerial photography and Google Earth for Doddridge County, they flew over this area in 2013.
Yeah,
So the
it's very new.
Google Earth photography is the latest for this area.
Trying to think of the right way to say this. If I may suggest to the assessor and to the commission, we flew Harrison County at the 6-inch level, the whole county, and it wasn't that expensive. It was $30,000 or something like that. And at 6 inches, you can count the 55-gallon drums on a well site. I mean, you have real good view. And that might be a long way towards a lot of what we're talking about. Good information for you guys, good information for the assessor. Who in the hell's build a house if they didn't come in and get their taxes taken care of? But also, you know, when she says, let's look for a well site that might be accessible, we've got good data to look at.
And if you're going to talk about aerial photography, if you're going to consider doing that, this is the time of year to do it because the leaves, the vegetation's down, and the way the sun is and everything else.
The optimum flight times is the last 2 weeks in March and the first 3 weeks in April because of the height of the sun, and the snow's got to be off, the leaves can't be coming on yet, so there's like a 5-week window, and it's March and April.
There's a company out of Buchanan, I think that.
Landmark Forestry is who we use, and they're good and they're fairly inexpensive. I don't get a dime from them, don't get me. But a lot of the information that you guys want, you got to be able to see, and that's totally off the subject, but you might think about that.
All of a sudden, they were just in my office last week, and we're looking at getting some prices through the reevaluation fund to already pay for that. So we haven't got prices yet, but just give me some.
And if we're going to fly again in April or March, whenever we're going to do it. So if they already got planes in the air, maybe
we discussed that.
Okay. So he's already piggybacking on that.
How did they supply, when they did the aerial stuff, how did they supply the data to you? Digitally, but what?
We get,
Do they also do prints?
we have our own printers, print them ourselves. We get the tagged information file format, the TIFF files, which are high density and very, very detailed. They break them down into Mr. SID, which are compressed and load faster, but not always the detail. And they also mosaic together to where it's good to go. If you look at our website, Harrison County's gis.harrisoncountywv.com, that is our 2014 aerial photography.
And I'll attest that you can tell what's in the people's backyards.
You've looked at my maps? It's good stuff. And we do overflow just a little bit, so if you want to look what's on Greenbrier, it's there.
Okay, so we'll get started by
Yeah,
contacting 911.
yeah. Get everybody on board. I'll go ahead and get hold of the tower people and say, hey, you know, got Doddridge County. I'll talk to the state level today and mention that I'll be down here, since they referred you to me. But yeah, I'll check with the tower grant people, see what kind of, you know, what the funding cycle looks like, and then we just need to start thinking, you know, brainstorming. Google Earth's a good place, and let's start looking where there might already be some infrastructure in place.
Okay, the other thing is if you're thinking about, is this window for the optimum flight time is a really tight, close window. You really, if you plan on jumping on that bandwagon, you really, really need to schedule with them as soon as possible. Because everything's dependent on weather, so that they have you filled in.
Yeah, you need to get under contract first week of January, second week of January, something like that. You can't goof off to them. But if you've already talked to them, that's a good start. They already know you've got an interest.
Thank you very much, Paul.
They keep us apprised of the situation.
And
Didn't mean to
again, I don't know how much, they haven't got me any prices yet. They came last week and, you know, they was looking at our mapping and, you know, we talked about flyover and things and matter of fact, I expected something in my email probably today, but I didn't have anything like that. So I may be coming back, you know, asking for, I don't know that there's enough in in the valuation account, to do the whole project. But like with the digital mapping, when we digitized all of our maps from the very beginning, we didn't have the money to do all of that at once, and the commission kicked in several thousand
But see,
dollars.
the other, if you get that aerial photography that's done in Tifton, that's what I used to work with, all right? If it's done with the tips and stuff like that, you can actually, if you have your stuff digitized, you can actually overlay that stuff over the aerials.
Yeah.
So you
Well, that's what my maps are.
That's what I do.
Yes.
Makes it,
Thief.
makes it really great. But with all the pipeline scars and everything else that's going on, the compressors, I mean, this county's changed a lot.
Okay, do we have any old business?
Can I say one thing? It's really not necessarily old business, and I probably should have said it on public comment, but I know that with Mark being out because of illness and with Nancy's health, the commission did hire an extra janitor. Thank you so much. He has been a real asset to the courthouse. I can just speak on behalf of the prosecuting attorney's office. He's been invaluable with us, getting some things kind of cleaned up and moved around. We've been kind of adjusting things upstairs, and if we've called and asked for him to come up and run the sweeper, I know we had court all day today. Yesterday he wiped down all the woodwork in the circuit courtroom, which is huge. And he's just been, he's very polite, he's very helpful. So thank you to the county commission for bringing him on before the inclement weather set in.
Good, everybody's working out.
In addition to that, I have, one of the issues has, for the last, since I've been here, has been times when there's snow on the sidewalks, and I have contacted a businessman here in town, and he's supposed to get me some estimates on what he would charge for cleaning the sidewalks. And it's my understanding, I believe, that we pay the city of West Union to clean the snow off,
The parking lot out here,
just this parking lot out here.
and you go around it,
Yeah.
because we understand around here.
Okay, what he would, he wouldn't be interested in just cleaning the sidewalks, and I understand that, because you have to have enough business in order to make some money. So what I asked him was an estimate for the parking lot, and the parking lot down along whatever the street is down through here where the employees park, and the sidewalks. And so he's going to get that information to me. If you will, put that on the agenda for the next meeting, and we'll discuss that. We're working on that. We don't want employees having, when I say employees, if they were employees who were employed to clean the sidewalks, that's fine. But we don't want secretaries, and we don't want the sheriff, and we don't want the other elected officials having to come in here and it creates a liability situation too. But anyway, we're working on it, so we should have some possible solution to that next meeting.
We just have invoices left, don't we?
Yeah. What's left on there? I am too.
I didn't know you were Dr. Morrison.
Oh, I can see her. Likewise, sir. For the assessment.
I was going to gently, I don't even remember what you called it.
They don't qualify for grant because they're not emergency services. They still need radios. And
I got it. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I already said that we have it.
You gotta put all the tree really cold outside.
I think maybe we
Okay.
Ceiling's rocking? Yes. What about Santa?
There's too many issues that are going
Or
around.
carry
So
on.
He said just whatever, it's not. So they
How long are you
to mention it to you and then you put it on the agenda for the rest of the year.
They've got a budget.
Yeah, they had to go to,
Okay, I'm gonna go downstairs.
and.
Make it out to revise.
REBIS.
But I just, you're right, I saw it.
Okay.
I'm gonna get that.
And you're ready as we're supposed to do next time. Assessor's vehicles. We have the budget revision, and I will add the two things that you guys voted on tonight. Remove the money for the metal detector and $1,000 into the budget. I'll have to add it on. I didn't realize Ralph wasn't going to be here, so it's kind of set up for him, but you guys can sign and I can.
Maybe we have to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll put what's on there. What it is, this budget revision is where for that ambulance, what I did was accidentally put it in their regular account instead of the capital project. So I moved it from the regular account to capital projects, where it's supposed to be.
I'll move that we accept these two budget revisions.
Okay. And all in favor, signify aye.
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 And I'll just type the others in, you guys.
So,
And I'll type it up pro tem after your name, sure.
okay. Just right here or up at the top.
You do the first one, and then I'll type pro tem after president.
Do we need to vote on these?
No, you don't. You just usually sign them. She can sign them as president.
Pro tem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did set up any paperwork right. I think I remember him saying that we would be here. Yeah. I'll get both of those.
Oh, I see that now.
Signatures. Yeah, she needs to sign the other spot. Sign there. Mark is home. He's still in a lot of pain. It'll probably be 6 to 8 weeks before he can come back. And he's actually called me. He was getting the information, what he needed to bring in and paperwork.
I didn't ask that.
Who's this state elected?
Oh, that's, courthouse security here in between.
No, okay.
Okay.
The one line comes across some kind of security door for the judge. It's the main expense on there.
Maple Township.
Yes,
That's
okay.
a hell of a
They're
damn
the
talking
Supreme
point.
Court judge.
That's not even,
What's
I
that?
think it's on the invoice, it said Supreme Court judge.
Yeah.
well, if you look at
Wait a
the others,
We have one of those in here.
Different.
this
The big
is,
one.
this is another one.
This is the big one, the one that comes through New Zealand Village.
Well, this,
This is this part right here. That's where I am.
right, that's up here, it's starting at, no, they're not. There's one that starts up on top of Flint Hill.
That's where I am. Where my property
Transfer
joins.
station up there, but these maps aren't. It starts off as a 36-inch line, and when
And
it comes out of Sherwood, it
It's a
goes to a 42-inch line. These are other lines that are tapping into it. So this is different. This is different from the maps that they had set up.
Have we gotten the note back?
Yes, I've got this.
This is different from the maps that they have at the library. What's the date on those? 11/5, yeah. This is different from what they had at the library.
They were going to change
It's going
it a few
through
years ago, but
Ohio.
they couldn't get to the title to be able to change
But it's
it.
coming from
They
the
might
top
have
of
to change it over
Flintstone,
because the insurance
loop
requires
it
it.
around, and crossing Route 50. See right here?
Oh.
That's the Northwest one. So this is the one that's going out of there, they're not showing.
The one that's
It's
coming
coming
in.
in, they're not showing. the one
Maybe
that's
it's in
coming
the other map book. And see, that's just it.
They're not showing the whole picture.
This one says 36-inch. That's the 24.
They're different components.
And from what I've heard, there's one that's going to go south too. Directly south out of it.
Where the heck is Beach Township?
Well, look right here.
Those are townships. What it is that's Beach voting district. They're putting our voting districts, Maple and Beach and the,
This is got Maple here, Beach here,
and I would be in Beach.
District,
I would be in Beach.
You're in Beach too, aren't you? Where do you vote? You
No.
voted Buckeye,
I voted,
the church, right?
no, it's that little, shoot, what's
It's
it?
the little-
Across from Tark Hill.
Yeah, that's the
you're
church.
you're in Beach.
So that's called Beach, okay?
Yeah. See,
They're
Maple
here.
and Beach.
They're showing Maple over here, Beach down here. This one, they've got Maple too.
Yeah.
They're,
Morgan Friends where you end up with the split. And then Beach goes north of 50 and Maple goes south of 50.
what they're showing here is deceptive.
Yep.
It's not the, because that one, I know, when I talked to the company, they said it was a 36-inch line coming from Bayless, and then it was 42-inch going from
That's the first
the
paperwork.
compressor
that come in.
station. But what they're showing on here are all these other lines feeding into them, so it's not just,
It's not.
it's not just the two lines.
Your quote was pretty bad,
Yeah, that's for one of Helen's cousins. It's about this wide. It's got a jungle print in the back.
And you drive to Bridgeport every morning? How bad was it this morning?
Oh,
This morning it wasn't bad, not at all. I mean, it was cold, but the roads were clear. And, Friday was the fun one.
This,
Friday when we had.
Friday morning, there was the black ice and,
IRS lady.
out this way, it was fine.
Don't pay taxes,
And it was right
only
before you got into
few ones,
Parkersburg.
ones that are already employed by us in other positions, and
Thank
that
you.
are voting, is the only ones get taxes out. The only ones have to send W-2s to, I don't have to send them all W-2s.
That's fine.